All right, so we're here to cover the final day of EWC Championship Sunday, where we had both semifinals and the grand finals, and we'll get into the results, what all that looked like here shortly. But to start us off, Steve, what'd you think of Sunday?
Sunday was fun. It was good to have a competitive, bit of an unexpected day. Honestly, a lot of the days leading up to it were just so many sweeps. It was nice to see some series that went a little bit longer. Obviously, we had a couple outliers in that regard with Space Station and BDS in the quarters. RIP. And Chiefs in general just made the whole event way more exciting. Then we had a good Furia Twisted Minds match too in the lower bracket final of Group C earlier. But other than that, it was a lot of sweeps. Quarters consisted of 4-0 Gen G on Vitality, 4-0 Falcons on Furia, and 4-0 G2 against the Chiefs. So Sunday was nice. It was nice to get some real competition in there.
Yeah, I
Enjoyed the event.
think this Sunday just showed there are levels, even in professional Rocket League. There's just levels to it. Now, I think on Saturday we started the day with 12 teams. We finished with 4, so there were 8 matches on Saturday, and 6 of those were sweeps. So it's just, and three of those are sweeps and best of 7s. So it was just kind of like some of the series kind of looked like snoozers on paper, but when you get into some of them, they were just, they were close matches through and through. We said that Gen G Vitality was a 4-0 sweep for Gen G. Every single game was a 1-goal game. So they were still entertaining. It's just on paper at a glance, it kind of looks like it was a snooze fest. And you have some games like game 1 of Falcons versus Furia where they 6-0 them. That's not,
the rest of them are 1-goal games.
That's not a good tone setter, but then Falcons just closes it out, and G2 and the Chiefs, 3 of the 4 games were 1-goal games. And so,
that is just crazy. Big ups to the Chiefs for playing so well in that whole tournament.
They showed up this tournament, and it makes me happy. And we'll talk a little more on the Chiefs at the end. But first semifinal of the day, we had Team BDS taking on Gen G. And what were your thoughts going into this? I'm pretty sure we both. How did we? I think I had Gen G potentially winning that in my head. And
I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of expected Space Station to beat BDS in the quarters. So
that's also true.
My bracket was a little busted early.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure last episode at the end I said I was buying stock in SSG, and then they forgot how to play for a little bit. So
sold some BDS stock. I was not really sure about them after seeing their 3-0 loss to G2. G2 comfortably beat them.
Yep.
I was very surprised to see them turn it around in playoffs. But so my bracket was busted. Gen G, I would have said I would have had them beating BDS too. I just really didn't expect BDS to play as well as they did on Saturday or Sunday. I think they just took control though. They played at that level that we talked about before the event that we knew they could reach. We knew the potential. Just hadn't seen it on LAN yet, and that is a scary warm up for Worlds.
Yeah, I think we have a couple. I want to say we got a couple clips for this series, and I do think that starting out, because Gen G takes game 1, they come out of the gate. No, they don't. They take game 2, but Gen G scored the first goal of the series, and I thought we had the kind of the tempo set with it. Because if we look at this, like I thought first killer was going to start off Gen G. They were going to start off hot, and they kind of did, looking at this one clip.
Of Team BDS, who have done a great job of locking in Gen G.
First killer gets a free touch. Exotic went to meet him. First killer saw him the whole way. Reset available off the bar into the net. Jack had it.
And it's just first killer, full court, full field air dribbles around Exotic, gets a flip reset, flicks it past Drawley off the backboard, and Appjack comes in and finishes it. But it was just
incredible So,
I thought that was going to set the tempo big for Gen G. I thought they were going to come out and they were just going to keep swinging left and right. And even despite that goal, Gen G was on defense a lot of these games. Throughout the entire series, they were just stuck in their own half.
Yep. The shots, I mean, BDS put up 79 shots in this series to Gen G's 43. So we have almost twice the amount of shots being taken. Monkey Moon on his own shot more than any two players on Gen G combined. Any of the combinations, Monkey Moon shot more. Or tied. Yep, tied. If we're looking at Jack and First Killer, he shot the same, which is just unbelievable to shoot the same as these two guys.
31 shots through 6 games.
Yeah, that's
boy,
just a lot, you know.
That boy shooting.
Yep. There's not much you can do about it. And then, I mean, BDS was on their demo game. I think Gen G didn't do too bad of a job either. Jack and First Killer, they had 8 and 9 apiece for demos, but Drawley had 12 on his own. So you get a guy coming in with 12 demos. Chronic's getting demoed 10 times, and we saw him have 21 saves in the whole series. He was just an unbelievable wall on defense. He looked incredible on that goal line. But, I mean, you take him out of the game 10 times, he is going to let a few slip.
Yeah, it's rough when your best goalie is also not playing the game.
Yep.
So, but again, Gen G came out looking good. Even though that they were on defense, their defense held really well. Even though they were on defense, probably 80% of the game or something along those lines. Like, it was, again, 1-goal games throughout the series. And I just think we saw it throughout this tournament. BDS just gets off to such slow starts for some reason. I don't know why they can't just start a series off hot and go with it. But they just couldn't. And eventually we see them wake up in game 2, and that's when it kind of all goes downhill from there. And we've got a clip for that also.
But Monkey Moon keeps it high and away from the rotation. Gen G are happy to wait, steals some boost, force BDS to get those clears out. Exotic makes some quick work of it. Went for the bump. Chronic forced to hurry up. Oh, Monkey Moon hit it with the changeup, but couldn't put it on target. He felt First Killer coming behind him, and that hurry up. There were 2 hurry up plays there off ball, Corelli, that prevented the goals from going in. Drawley finally makes sure.
And we see all 3 members of BDS get involved in this play. Exotic pinches it off the wall. Monkey Moon passed back to the mid. It looks like Exotic here. It looks like he's going to go up for this ball after it comes out of the corner. He's up. He flips his car over and jumps back down and goes for the bump on Chronic. And Drawley comes in and just slams it. And when you get a 3-man passing play out of the other team's corner, that's a scary sight to see right off the bat. And BDS woke up after that. And if I could sum up how the rest of the series went in 1 goal, it's probably going to be this one.
From BDS, they've done a great job offensively. And for Gen G, they have not had a lot of options.
Well, First Killer, not a bad idea. Pushed forward on the challenge, then went back to get the 50, but it doesn't matter.
Oh my goodness.
Just the Cookser pinch downfield to a disgusting redirect by Drawley.
Absolutely. Gen G may have to take a shower after that one, because that, I mean, you love to see it. I'm not even rooting for BDS. I was amazed by this goal.
And they talk about it on the broadcast. Like, Cookser pinches, when we used to see those, it was like, yeah, somebody finally did it. And
now it's every other game.
Now we're throwing redirects off of it, and it's just like, all right, the game has evolved so much, and I love to see it. But to me, that's just pretty much how that kind of sums up the series: is overwhelming pressure from BDS, and then their offense explodes out of nowhere. And you'll have a random touch from Drawley or a random touch from Monkey Moon that comes out mid, and it's just like, and we talked about it, the demo game in this series for BDS, it was in. They had their game locked and loaded, and it's hard to play the game when you have a team playing that fast, that cohesive, and that aggressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seemed, I mean, Gen G was just struggling to do much after their first touch at any end. No matter where they started to gain possession of the ball, they were typically giving it up, whether it was through a 50 or a bad touch.
And if you had to give a man of the match in this one, who's it going to? Who's your MVP for this series?
My MVP. Let me go back. I have it written down. Sorry. We are looking at. I believe I had Monkey Moon for this. Yes, I did. Just his pressure in the series was incredible. He was doing it all around. He was inflicting a lot of demos. He didn't have as many as Drawley, but he still had a lot. He was throwing assists to his teammates. We saw him dime up Exotic and Drawley a few times. He had a double-digit amount of saves. He had 31 shots on target. And he just did his job. He did what he's supposed to do as the leader of the team and the foreman for BDS. He really showed up, I think, and they took control.
If I had to pick somebody not Monkey Moon, I think my next up, I would probably go with Drawley. Drawley did the majority of the scoring for the team. He had the best shooting percentage, and then he also had we've talked about it, the most demos, so he's opening up the goal. And yeah, again, his two teammates didn't have the greatest shooting percentages. I think Monkey Moon's is 16 and Exotics is 15.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Drawley shooting at 29%, and he's opening the goal also. So like Drawley was kind of, to me, he was the jack of all trades. He was clearing the goal when he needed to. He had 6 assists, and outside of him, his team scored 10 goals. So he didn't participate in only 4 of the goals for his team out of the, what would that be, out of the 15. So over 2/3 of the goals he was involved in. Drawley was just kind of doing it all for BDS. And so if I wanted to not copy you and pick Monkey Moon, which I would, next up is Drawley. But
yeah, and we love to see that. It's good to see Drawley doing well on the land stage.
But BDS goes on to win the series 4-2, and that about wraps up that series. And so we'll flip to the other side of the bracket, and our next quarterfinal was Falcons versus G2. And I want to say this was probably going to be, going into it, I'd be like, that would be my dream grand finals, would be G2 versus Falcons. And I'm glad it wasn't the grand finals for this tournament.
Would have been a little bit sad. Maybe G2, but who knows? Maybe G2 gets a warm up against one of the other teams, plays a little bit better, and they come out stronger against Falcons later in the day. But that is not the blessing we received for the weekend.
Yeah.
And G2 was looking a little rough out there on offense. They only shot 39 in the 5-game series, which is a little low for them, I feel like. And it was a 39-50 on that score line. We had Falcons taking 50 shots in the series, so that's 10 shots a game. I mean, you are controlling the offense at that point, big time. And then goals conceded, not even looking at shots, it's 12-6. They were outscored. So that is unforgivable. There's no way you're gonna win a series getting outshot like that. I mean, that is crazy.
Yeah. And I think, so what was the biggest, what G2 obviously could not keep up in this series, and so what do you think that factors into? What was slowing G2 down, or was it the speed of Falcons, or was it just like G2 wasn't really playing well, or what do you think went wrong for G2 in this series?
I think it just wasn't G2's day. I didn't think Daniel was playing great. Nas was looking pretty good, honestly. He stepped in big time, I'd say. Daniel was doing a great job on the back line. He had a lot of really good saves. He had the most saves out of his team, all of them being in double digits. But as far as shots go, he only took 12 and he only scored 2, which is just pretty unlike him, I would say. we usually get a little bit higher percentage than 17 out of Daniel, and we definitely usually get some more shots seen. Atomic as well. I don't think he was able to get as well adjusted as I would have liked to see. He only had 1 assist in the entire series, and he only had 1 goal also. I think he was just getting stuffed up a lot. He didn't really have a big chance in the midfield against Rawas. And I don't know if that's just Atomic being outclassed or if, like I said, they were just having an off day. But
yeah, and with Atomic, you said 1 goal, one assist. Yeah, that's unlike him, but at the same time, it and not that you were blaming Atomic solely.
oh yeah,
But
no, it's a team effort.
for 1 goal and 1 assist, the sad stat is that's goal participation of a third of his team
Oof.
for the series. A 5-game series, he was involved in 2 goals, and that is a third. He has a 33% goal participation with that.
See, but I mean, we've got Daniel was 5 out of 6 on participation, and so is Nas. Both of them being 5 out of 6. So
Yeah, but
percentage wise, yeah, that is still. I mean, that is still insane.
because you
Sounds
would
like
go ahead.
a lot of solo play missed opportunities. I think Nas and Daniel both going for a decent amount of solo plays that just didn't really work in their favor this series.
Yeah, and with Daniel and Nas, with their goal participation being so high, you would hope that the redeeming factor of Atomic's play would be his defense, which he did have 11 saves, but so did Nas, and Daniel had more than both of them. So it's like Atomic did not have a standout really in any aspect of the game. He didn't even have the most demos on the team. He got demoed the least on his team. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he gave the least demos. He had the least on him. It's not a good look.
He was kind of just a non-factor in the game, which sucks, knowing how talented Atomic is. But I just think that it was a style clash. This match was, and the style of play that Falcons has, where they're super aggressive, super in your face. And G2 is more of a, let's take our time, let's get a air dribble into an infield pass, into a quick shot. And it's hard to set up a quick shot if, as soon as you take off your air dribble, Falcons have been up for 3 seconds already. They've been waiting for you to air dribble, so it becomes very difficult to adjust to that when you just feel like you're being smothered by a Falcons defense or a Falcons midfield, where you can't even get your offense started. And I just think G2 struggled getting their offense started, but there were also some defensive breakdowns, and we got a clip. This is one of Falcons' goals in the first game, and we just see G2, I don't know what happens, but they have a complete defensive breakdown.
Killers for the double, 1-2 down as she skims it a little bit too far away from the net.
There's a chance now. Ruas has a pass in the centre for TRK, instead he just lets it drop. He shoots it again! TRK's pace, you can't match it!
Because you have Atomic going up for the challenge. He challenges again. Daniel's kind of in no man's land on the back wall. And for some reason, Nas is right here near post. Nas didn't rotate. Like, he cut the rotation. He didn't come in from the back. And so a quick shot from TRK, and it's just, there's no way to defend that near post when Daniel kind of gets caught out. Nas, we've been saying his name wrong the whole day. Nas. He rotated near post instead of trying to come in from the back. And I understand, like, you're expecting a shot quick, and so you have to get in front of it. But, I mean, from this angle, TRK, there's only one place he can put it, and it's the back half of the net.
Yeah.
And so I think coming in from the back post would have been his best chance, Nass's best chance at saving this, but he cuts his rotation short, moves up, and there goes the ball in the back half of the net. And so, I don't know. It was just a weird defensive rotation. Daniel gets caught out. Nass cuts his rotation short, and it was just a weird situation to see G2 in.
Yeah, a bit of a panic series for them for sure.
And
unfortunate one.
Yeah, and it was just sadly that was kind of just the story of the series is G2 could never get anything started, and even when they were on defense, the counterattacks of Falcons were so quick that it's just there's nothing you can do about it. And they we've got an example of this also of just how quick they were on a counterattack.
Into the Falcons half. The Falcons, they can counter in an instant. G2 have to be wary of that. Daniel, he slows it down yet again. The challenge goes to Nas. It's a good loss there for Daniel to his teammate.
Just a little heat check for Killers there, making sure that he's staying on his toes. A long shot from the G2 side.
Nas to the ceiling. Atomic should win this one. He does. Oh, I wonder if he get enough angle there for Nas. Couldn't quite do it. And now Falcons come back. That's a clean.
The loss is so good up there.
It's just there was so much battle over the midfield control. Bang bang, 2 touches. The ball goes from the Falcons' third into the back of G2's net. Like it was that quick. All it took was 2 touches, and then a screamer ends up in your net, and there's kind of nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, and like I said, I think Rawas just really outclassed Atomic in that midfield, you know. I think he had that control.
Yeah,
That's something we'll have to see a big change on before Worlds if we want them to repeat as champs when it comes to Major to Worlds.
yeah, and I will say one redeeming thing that we saw out of G2 late in this series was early on. It was that air dribble pass. Air dribble flip reset off the back wall, trying to get a pass, and Falcons just smothering them off the ball over and over again. And finally, near the end of the series, we see some creativity out of G2, and it works beautifully for them. Atomic was playing super aggressive upfield, and I guess Falcons thought he rotated out, and he ends up rotating up their back wall and comes off the opposite corner for just a disgusting goal.
Falcons can read them. That's a fake low for Nas. It is tit for tat.
Daniel maybe has a chance to get a flip reset, but Killers was in too early from his own goal line. No camping back there and waiting for the ball to come to him. So change the conversation as much as he can. Here comes Atomic! Oh, that's an...
You see Atomic go across the back wall. He comes down, just circles right back up. He doesn't rotate out. He's just waiting in the top corner. And what a pass from Daniel to get him the ball up there.
Absolutely.
With precision, and then Atomic being able to finish it. It looked good. I remember watching that, and I was like, oh, shoot, G2 to tie the game back up. We could see G2 getting back into it if they can continue to be a creative goal-scoring team. And they kind of defaulted back into what they do, and it ended up...
Unfortunately, the dream was crushed. Falcons went on an incredible run at the end of that game 5 to close it out, and they just did not give G2 another good shot.
Yeah, after that Atomic goal, there were 3.5 minutes left on the clock. G2 scores again. Falcons scores 4 more times in that last 3 minutes. So that's kind of, again, it's hard to compete at that level when the other team is producing so well, they're clicking, and it was just, I think, just a masterclass and a huge style clash between the Falcons and BDS, or the Falcons and G2, which gives us a Falcons BDS final. But man of the match for me out of this series, I
already know who mine is.
I think for me, it's going to be TRK. I think TRK he was so involved. He had a 10 out of 12 goal participation, and he was just, I don't know, TRK was just, his touches were meaningful. He was up quick, challenging the ball. I just think TRK was their do-it-all guy, and all I'm saying is
reliable.
TRK was the only Falcons player that I heard getting chants from the crowd.
Yeah, he is the longest standing Falcons player. I think he's definitely the fan favorite just because of his longevity with the squad. You know, the fan base has always been there for him. We gotta see what if Killers and Rawas can get into their good side as well. I mean, I'm sure they're on the good side, but they're wanting a win, a championship, or nothing, I think, and we'll see if they can provide that eventually. But for me, my man of the match, it's going to be Rawas again, as it typically is when I see this team play. He had he was tied for most assists. He had an 8 out of 12 goal participation. So right behind TRK, not too many, but he had 4 more assists and 4 more demos. Same amount of demos taken. So he had just as much time as TRK. I just think he did a little bit more. TRK definitely provided more offensive pressure, but I think for Roas for leaving that midfield and giving TRK space to work was a big game changer for them. So he would be my man in the match personally.
And then moving on, we've got our grand final now. Falcons win this series. They win it 4-1. And then we have a BDS versus Falcons grand final. And this, I remember messaging you because I didn't want to spoil anything since we watched these games late. Yeah. I just remember messaging you. I was like, have you watched it yet? You said not yet. And all I said was instant classic. I thought this series was incredible. And we'll get into a little bit more specifics later. But what was just your initial take on this series after watching it?
Oh, this one was exciting. It had me excited. This was a good final. I really thought it was going to go to 7, honestly. I thought we were going to get to see a full series. Not totally surprised to see BDS close it out on Neo Tokyo. They love to do that, they hate to let it go to Champions Field. But man, that game 2 Falcons had against BDS, the 6-1 win, and then following up with another 2-1 win. I really did not expect to see them lose out after that. I thought it was going to be I thought we were going to see Falcons run away with it, honestly. We hadn't seen a very active BDS, but I mean, BDS turned around and did an incredible job controlling the pace of play. I think that was the big difference in this series. Both teams shot 51 shots on goal. So they were evenly matched in their striking. Obviously, BDS just putting a few more in than the Falcons got. But BDS's back wall defense, turnaround, transition into offense, I mean, they were on it there. They had great chemistry. They were passing to each other all up along the field, and it was a fun series to watch.
Yeah, because when you look at the goals, it's a six game series, 18 goals. So there were only 3 goals on average, 3 goals a game scored total. Which, if your games are going to be that low scoring, you can expect a lot of 2-1s. Hopefully no 3-0s. Falcons had the random 6-1 thrown in there, which if you only score 8 goals as a team and 6 of them are in one game, going to be kind of hard to win the rest of the series. But I really enjoyed this game or this match. BDS wins game 1, a close 1-0. And then where I thought, again, Falcons coming out with that 6-1, I was like, oh shoot, it's over now. You put up 6-1, you're in your home your hometown, you're the favorites, you've got the crowd behind you. I was like, Falcons is about to just poop on BDS. And
I thought the momentum would carry them for sure.
And they could have taken, they ended up taking a 2-1 lead in game 3, but this goal to me was where, had Falcons won it cleanly, had they won it in regulation, it was like, to me, the series is over at that point. Falcons goes up 2-1. They win it cleanly in regulation. I think BDS is going to struggle they're going to struggle a lot to try to bounce back. But what we end up seeing is this goal going through. And to me, this is just kind of what gives BDS a little bit of hope through the series.
Open the wall of BDS. Monkey Moon flying across. He's got Monkey Moon has to feather in 2 different directions. He's got no power onto the ball. It's so hard to make that 50 work and have it not go in your net when TRK is square-nosed on the ball like that. He just can't you can't have TRK get a full field air dribble like that down the field and try to get underneath him and take it away.
Talked about how scary Team Falcons are individually on every point.
Whoa! Was that an own goal? Monkey
I mean, right at the beginning of this replay, we see Team Falcons just scored. Monkey Moon throws one downfield, and Killer's trying to get back to it, ends up pre-flipping it, and own goals. Yeah. And to me, that's like, what that shows me is that Falcons rotation may not be as clean as they need it to be. And so even though it was an own goal, even though it was kind of a fluke, I think it's one of those things where BDS is like, all right, they're obviously going to continue with aggression. They're going to be super upfield. So if we can just start throwing some long bombs, there's a chance they go in. Yep. Because Falcons is going to use all their boost on our third or in the midfield. They're not going to be able to get back to a hard, long shot. And
we saw that work in games 5 and 6. Those were big. That was a big turnaround moment. I think you're absolutely right. That long shot play style really ended up working out for them, and the countering of the Falcons' heavy attacks, because the Falcons just weren't finishing very well this series. We see Rawas have a 1 for 16. Very unlike him. It's just hard to get going at that point. We see on the other end, though, Drawley was 1 for 15. So it really just comes down to Drawley did a little bit better on defense, I'd say, than Rawas did. And, you know, his team doesn't revolve around him as much. The BDS doesn't need Drawley to score for them to be a successful team. And the Falcons shouldn't need Rawas to score, but I think they do seem to drop and play a little bit when he's not up to his normal standard.
Yeah, there were multiple times where Falcons had an open net to shoot at and threw it off the crossbar or threw it off the post. Their finishing was just not where it needed to be to win this series. But to me, that just kind of made it more fun. And if you haven't been around Rocket League for a very long time, it kind of seems this series, they were playing fast. I think BDS was actually a step above Falcons in terms of they were playing fast, but they were also playing meaningful touches. The 50s that they were forcing, they were calculated. BDS was taking great 50s. Yes. And even like Achieves had a breakdown in the middle of this series during the tactical timeout, and it was beautiful just looking at the thinking of, you know, Falcons are going to want to take it up the wall, get it in the air, and BDS are challenging early to keep them off the wall, which means the ball has to come to the middle, and their BDS's second man was beating Falcons' second man to the ball every single time. And it was just, on the surface, it looks kind of boring because it's just 50 after 50 after 50. But every 50 had a purpose. Every 50, there was a goal of like, I'm going to try to get this ball to squeak out a certain way so that my teammate can be there and we can counterattack or we can capitalize on this 50. And so BDS, the mental aspect of the game is just, it was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where this takes them. I'm excited. I hope their mentals are up after that for sure. I would really like to see Drawley be a standout player at Worlds. And I'm a fan of Exotic and Monkey Moon too. They're fun to watch, you know. So it is pretty exciting to see for them. But Falcons, man. I mean, it hurts. I thought they'd win it at home, you know. I really want to see the Twins and TRK get something meaningful. I really don't want to see them win Worlds just because I'm rooting for NA overall. And if I'm gonna see them win a tournament, I would have wanted it to be this one. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with them. If I don't see them cracking and crumbling and doing worse than they've done in the rest of the season. You know, I feel like they're just gonna still be hungry for that #1 spot. But I mean, eventually they're gonna make this grand final and win it. So
yeah, the mental block is something that the Falcons just as an org seems to have always struggled with. I remember when the MENA region came onto the scene. The Falcons had always been like the one team out of the region that people had to watch out for, and they have just continued to close the gap every single event, every single season. This smaller region that when they first came in, I was like, all right, how popular is Rocket League in that region actually? And then we see the level of players that have come out of it. It's just been, I mean, I would much rather have a competitive scene where you do not know which region's going to take it home showing up. Because it used to just be it was either going to be NA, more than likely it was going to be EU. Like if you look at Worlds winners, EU outnumber NA pretty significantly, sadly.
Yeah.
But it was that way every event. Like you showed up and you had a gut feeling an EU team is probably going to win this event. And now it's EU, maybe NA. Like if you have a G2 who actually shows up and plays consistently every single day, you can have an NA win. Or you have your MENA teams, OCEs on the rise a little bit. Furia has been inching Sam closer and closer. And so I just think it's going to be an exciting Worlds. This event, I hope that the practices between this event and Worlds go well. I need more competitive games than what we had. Don't give me sweeps.
Give Chiefs that 16 spot. Give Chiefs the spot up for grabs after that performance. Let them in. Let them in with Jorius. Change the rule book. Let it happen.
But speaking of winning events, this is the goal that solidified it all for BDS. We have an OT, and you could probably guess who scores the game winner, but we'll go ahead and let it play.
This is the 5th overtime for BDS in between the semis and the grand finals, and now they're on golden goal, tournament goal. Killers wants game 7, but Exotic has stood in the way. They have not been able to break through him, and he forces another 50 out. Monkey Moon with the shot. Oh my God! Monkey Moon right into space. Your Esports
the emotion. I just want to go back because I don't know what Monkey Moon's thought process was, but the power he gets on this.
So nice.
That power's insane to get on that kind of shot.
Ice. You put him in a championship and he is ready.
So Monkey Moon puts the series to bed. BDS wins it all. And I think the cool thing is that, so PlayStation had a bounty for every single game at the Esports World Cup where somebody got recognized, and the bounty for Rocket League was most demolitions, and that went to Rawas. We kind of did the math right before this. Rawas had 34 demos throughout the entire tournament, which seems kind of low considering TRK had 11 in just this series. But Rawas, 34, he had the most demos of the tournament. And then MVP of the tournament was decided by the cast, or the casters and the desk and all that. They voted, and this came with a $50,000 cash prize attached to it. And the MVP of the tournament was Jorius, which I mean,
it's interesting. It's an interesting pick.
Yeah,
to give somebody that lost in the quarters, got swept in the quarters, the MVP. I understand where they're coming from, I think. But, I mean, this guy just got a bonus more than the teams that made the semifinals got as a team. So, that feels crazy. That feels really crazy to me.
Hey,
but,
he went to OCE and got a bag. That's all I know.
Yeah, I mean, homie, if that doesn't show you that you need to move to OCE with your brother, I don't know what will. Like, get over there, man.
Because I mean, outside of Jory to me it's just Monkey Moon.
Yeah,
if
I think
like Monkey Moon, this team without Monkey Moon is not winning this event.
Yeah, I think I think Exotic would have been a shout for me, to be honest. On BDS as a whole, I think I would have probably shouted Exotic. Falcon, like, I don't know. I think I would have given it to Monkey or Exotic, just being I think the MVP goes to a player on the winning team.
Yep.
Type of deal. And maybe that's just how we're raised in NA, you know. We always see a championship team has the MVP on it.
Yep.
It, like, the stats for the season, the whole season, the standings, that matters when it comes down to it. If we're gonna look at the whole top 8, honestly, I mean, there's a couple of names we could have shouted out for sure. I think Rawas or TRK could have been those guys. I think LJ could have been that guy, you know, just from the even perspective of when they didn't show up, when their team lost and they weren't as good as what we had seen previously, they lost. making them the most valuable.
Yeah. But Chiefs don't make it out of groups if they don't have Jorius. Yeah. Chiefs don't make top 8.
Chiefs don't make it out. Yeah. So, and I mean, that is the big story. They beat Gentle Mates twice, and they took Space Station to 5.
I still think without Monkey Moon, BDS can make it out of groups. Chiefs is not beating a major winner twice without Jorius. It's just not happening.
I mean, the second time being a sweep was a huge shock to me. I did not expect them to manhandle them so well. Like every time they got the lead, they just didn't give it up, and that was incredible. They went to overtime, one game. You know, they won 2 out of the 3. They won by a goal. But that's just as impressive as a shutout to me. The fact that they could stay just barely above and keep their composure and not panic on defense and let such a threatening team like Gentle Mates get through. I mean, that is incredible.
Well, before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts on the series, on the tournament as a whole?
Twisted Minds let me down. Twisted Minds really let me down. I'm glad at the end of the day that they didn't beat Fury. I was pulling for them, but
jerseys were fire.
The baseball jerseys, those were incredible. I hope we see them again. But that's just, I mean, it's just a mental thing. I think for a lot of these young guys, they struggle with their mentals, and their gameplay shows it.
Yep. And Nas, his stock, that boy's getting he better get picked up. If he doesn't get picked up, I'm gonna lose my mind. Nas, if we're buying, it's Nas.
Any player, Nas and Jorias both. I mean, I want to see Jorias in OCE, you know, just because of this. I want to see him stay with the Chiefs.
Let the flow rock.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we're selling,
Nas can go anywhere. If we're selling, I mean, by default, it's got to be AJ. Technically, here, but like, just looking at his 2 team counterparts being the guys, and then we see Reddles and Magic Bear doing so well in their off-season tournaments, and you just gotta kind of wonder.
Shoot, my fault, AJ. I didn't know that was gonna happen.
No, I love AJ. I don't want to throw shade.
All right, out of this tournament,
out of this tournament, we are selling.
You rat.
I think, I'm probably selling a little bit of Now Post stock. I'm probably, any player specifically for me selling stock. I think it's going to be Nalpo.
Is there a team that you would sell stock in? Because I'll give you some time to think. But for me, it would be, I was kind of underwhelmed, and I said it even after I want to say it was after day 1. I just don't think Vitality looked like as threatening as they used to.
Yeah.
Now, I do remember saying that Vitality came in, they did what we expected to do, which was qualify through uppers, but I don't know. I was kind of underwhelmed with their performance on Sunday and did not think that it was good. And so I'm a little nervous going into Worlds. My stock on them is a little lower, which, as an NA fan, that's a thumbs up. We love that.
Valid. Yeah, I think also Vitality for me. I definitely expected their series with Gen G to be closer. I'm pretty surprised they even beat Furia in their series 3-1 with that. Like that I don't know, that just feels like an off game for Furia. I think if we see that, well, it was also a revenge match, you know. I think Vitality really have that beef with Furia now, which is a little exciting, but I would agree with you. Any team, I think Vitality is the stock to sell. And I would have sold BDS too at the beginning of the whole event. But I mean, you go out and win the whole thing, you take down Space Station, Gen G, and Falcons. You earn respect for sure.
Yep. And speaking of those 3 teams to close out this event, each winning team got to put 3 keys they could pick any 3 keys, put them in the bottom of their trophy. So they get to take a trophy home from this event, and it's got the the keys of 3 separate teams that they get to pick, and those are the 3 teams they picked. They picked their bracket run. So in the bottom of BDS's Esports World Cup trophy forever will be the keys to Space Station Gaming, Gen G, and Team Falcons.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if any of those teams can get revenge at the RLCS World Championship.
Let's hope so. 2 of those teams are NA.
Yep, really hope. Really hope at least.
At least one of them's got to get
It's
revenge.
one of them. I mean, it's okay if Falcons don't, but you know, SSG, looking at you.
Please.
Please, please, please.
But that wraps it up. Congratulations to Team BDS. Taking home a cool 200K bones back to EU. And between now and then, there is Rocket League going on. The 3v3 Rumble tournament wrapped up. And
Ooh, yep. We've got the 2v2 tournament coming up this weekend, and then I think 1v1s is the following before we get Worlds in a couple
excited.
weeks.
It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. But I have no other thoughts. So between now and then, from us,
Good luck out there.
good luck out there. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.